and welcome to our Genesis Monthly Expo. My name is Martin Sriba, and I'm the Head of Strategic Accounts at Genesis, as well as your host for today's event. I am pleased to kick off a new companion piece to our regular monthly expos, the Genesis Tech Expos. These events will be more focused on the Genesis LCAP technology with a deeper dive into how our platform is revolutionizing the buy versus build paradigm. I will be inviting various colleagues from our engineering team, as well as clients who will be able to give you some hands-on experience as to how we can reduce time to market for new applications, as well as why various firms have partnered with Genesis to help them with their digital transformation journey. To introduce this month's Expo, I am pleased to be joined by our CTO and co-founder, James Harrison, Aaron Mendez, one of our senior program managers, and Jay Taylorson, Vice President of Application Development. To kick off the show, we're joined by James Harrison for a company update. Hello, James. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Martin, and hello, everybody, and a warm welcome to this month's Genesis Expo. I'm James Harrison, the CTO and co-founder at Genesis, and I'm here to present today's Expo, where we'll focus on technology, and specifically on the Genesis low-code application platform, which many of you will know is absolutely at the core of everything we do as a company, and we're now in our 7th year of investment. The overarching purpose of the Genesis LCAP is to enable robust, secure, and scalable financial markets applications to be developed and enhanced incredibly quickly and cost-effectively. The platform has been built for performance and complex use cases that exist within financial markets. The platform is a combination of high-performance application infrastructure, feature-rich business components, and fully integrated DevOps tooling, all built by highly talented and experienced teams across the UK, the US, and Brazil. As a company, we have a relentless focus on making the platform ever more productive. So as we see more and more developers adopting the Genesis platform to build ever more complicated applications, the platform naturally becomes much more feature-rich. As well as the feedback we receive from building applications with our clients, the platform also benefits enormously from the ever-growing and improving technology landscape. And at Genesis, we actively invest in R&D and seize on technology enhancements in the market to continuously improve the overall platform. Building on the amazing progress we made in 2020 by over tripling revenues across the globe, Genesis will continue to invest heavily into R&D in this year too, with our single biggest investment being in no-code tooling and improved application development. The plans we have for this year are truly game-changing, and we hope to tell you more on this in next month's Expo. In previous Expos, we've shown different parts of the Genesis platform, and today's no different, where we're going to show further details on 2 key areas that had great investment during 2020. Firstly, the next generation web components-based UI, and then secondly, GPAL, which stands for the Genesis Platform Abstraction Layer used to supercharge our developer experience. In 2020, we completely revamped the web presentation layer in the platform, and what we found was that when discussing web development with our clients and with our prospects, it was obvious there were 2 or 3 main camps of competing JavaScript frameworks: React, Angular, and Vue, with clients clearly having their favorites. This posed a problem to us, which is, which one do we pick? If we pick one, we risk alienating a subset of clients. If we pick them all, then this puts an enormous burden on our platform development team. And also what we found is that in certain use cases, say those around high performance, those lent themselves to particular frameworks and others did not. So after long and careful consideration, we made the bold move to become entirely framework agnostic, and in doing so, we adopted web components across the entire platform, sitting at a layer below each of the frameworks, but with us still providing specific framework hooks. We would then appeal to all the clients regardless of framework preferences, and in short, this would give us the best of all worlds. We introduced our web component strategy to the world in August 2020 Expo, and I'm pleased to announce today we have Aaron Mendez, the program manager for web strategy, where he'll be going into much more detail on this today. The second section we'll be covering today is GPAL, the Genesis Platform Abstraction Layer. This initiative was born out of real-life experience of building applications, analysing where developers were spending their time, and how we can eliminate unnecessary steps, as well as much more reusability of components and far less bugs. The GPAL initiative is very comprehensive and was launched last year and can also be seen in our September Expo, where we had Jose Pozo, our head of core engineering, presenting on this. Today we have Jay Taylorson, VP of Application Development, who will explain in more detail the parts that focus on real-time data distribution to user interfaces. And Jay's perfectly placed to discuss this, as it's him and his team, as well as our clients, that are large consumers of the Genesis platform and who benefit directly from all the new GPAL enhancements. We're tremendously excited about these and other investments, and it's with great pride to be able to share these with you today. So I hope you'll be similarly excited when you see the power of this tooling. So thanks again for taking the time to join us today, and I'd like to hand you back to Martin. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James, for that insightful update. So now, let me set the scene for the first iteration of the Genesis Tech Expo. In this month's session, I'll be exploring three key areas. What is the Genesis local platform and why firms need it? I will then address the key elements behind the technology, the microservices architecture, the reusable business component library, and then the low-code development tools that make up the platform. Lastly, I will conclude by speaking about some of the challenges and opportunities we are seeing with our clients as well as prospects in the market. So to begin, what is the low-code platform and why do firms need it? The Genesis low-code platform empowers organizations to deliver new applications faster, cheaper, and with lower risk. The platform supports out-of-the-box interfacing to business component libraries, provides web development tools for easy product design, as well as includes comprehensive toolsets that cover each stage of the development and delivery lifecycle, hence making it easy to create, integrate, and deploy new applications. What is also unique about the Genesis LCAP platform is how we partner with our clients. Not only can clients buy already built applications, they can also partner with us to build new solutions or can directly purchase the platform and build the applications on their own. Let us take a closer look how all of this can come together.
What is an LCAP? It's all in the name. LCAP stands for Low Code Application Platform. Low code means, it's pretty self-explanatory, it means you can deliver solutions as you need them without typing in a whole bunch of code. So having less code means you can deliver faster, it means there's less bugs, so you have less issues, and delivering faster usually means less costs. Application platform really is the set of services and components that come together to enable that by providing a lot of the capabilities that you need for a system straight out of the box. They're enterprise ready and they're proven. So what does an LCAP contain? LCAP, there are a range of LCAPs out there, and Genesis is one of them, and they tend to have a number of common attributes or groupings of capabilities. You tend to have some development tools to support the dev process that is required. I mean, there is still some coding. So having optimized dev tools accelerates the development process. They offer functional components that are reusable, so specific components that do things that support the business process that you're trying to implement. As many of those get repeated and are common. You have non-functional components, so all systems have some needs like resilience, robustness, failover, scalability, security, and those things, again, you can't get away from them, but they come out of the box with an LCAP. And then you have a whole range of tools to support the delivery, the project lifecycle, the delivery lifecycle, from requirements and planning, the integrated development environment, managing the code, managing the builds, managing the deployments, managing the environments, all the way through to operating the system live and managing the process post-live and as it goes into the future. So all of those capabilities together comprise a low-code application platform.
Many enterprise-level institutions who already are running the Genesis platform experience a significant decrease of time to market for newly developed solutions by over 80%, as well as see a significant reduction in their operating costs. And because these applications are built on our cloud-based platform, the new applications become part of the core framework, making them easier to maintain, manage, and support on an ongoing basis. The Genesis LCAP is a disruptor to traditional IT delivery. Firms across all industries don't need to depend on legacy applications and worry about the constant increase of technical debt to these core systems. The Genesys LCAP can quickly and efficiently bring these legacy infrastructures into the digital age without huge operational spend. And if firms want to leverage out-of-the-box solutions, that is an option left for them to decide. So what sets Genesys apart as the only LCAP for financial markets? The Genesys platform is built on three elements: a microservices-oriented architecture for agility and throughput, a set of reusable and expandable business components, and a comprehensive toolset that covers each stage of the development and delivery lifecycle. Let's take a closer look. In our upcoming shows, we'll go further into the building blocks, user interface, integration, and tooling that make up the Genesys local platform and its transformative capability of IT delivery. More information, explainer videos, and white papers are all available on our website. And now to the challenges and opportunities we are seeing with our clients and in the market. Many firms are facing the same dilemma: incumbent legacy systems are stifling innovation. Enterprise-level institutions in all industries, not just finance, are relying on complex and archaic solutions with huge levels of technical debt. Regulations are constantly evolving. Firms need to quickly adapt to come into compliance, hence putting extensive pressures on internal IT resources, while constantly increasing operating costs. Time to market is critical. Competition across all industries is increasing at a rapid pace. Firms must innovate on top of their legacy systems to stay relevant. Ability to move to new and innovative systems gets more challenging as time moves on. The issue of historical data conversions become a deterrent to migrate to new systems. Here is a neat perspective from James Ferguson, our Head of Business Development.
The Genesys applications are utilized by financial market firms ranging from buy-side, sell-side, and market infrastructure providers, with the aim of delivering secure and scalable solutions, as well as accelerating the delivery of IT projects. For sell-side firms, the combined effect of regulatory changes and margin and fees compression mean they are under increased pressure to reduce operational costs. Technology, and specifically low-code, is the key to unlocking crucial IT productivity gains and transforming operating models. What we are seeing in the market is an increasing number of sell-side firms reviewing their legacy technology stacks, particularly in the post-trade space, and opting for a best-of-breed modular architecture. This paradigm shift plays to the strengths of the Genesys LCAP platform. which can supercharge innovation around incumbent legacy systems, automate manual processes, and enable firms to be truly agile.
Firms have no choice but keep up with these challenges, constantly increasing their IT spend and finding new ways to innovate, hence draining their internal organizational resources. The Genesys LCAP platform can address all these major industry challenges. We are a unique and disruptive open platform that can deliver new solutions in an unprecedented time to market. I am delighted to be joined today by part of my engineering team, Aaron Mendez, Senior Program Manager, and Jay Taylorson, VP of Application Development. So Aaron, do you want to give our audience a quick introduction into what you'll be running us through today?
I'd be delighted. And thank you, Martin, for having me on today's show. So today I'll be leading our audience through an exploration of our new front-end framework. As James mentioned earlier, I'll discuss our adoption of web components and design systems to understand how they empower our LCAP journey.
Excellent. I'll be looking forward to hearing more about the adoption of web components in more detail. And Jay, what you'll be speaking about today?
Hi, Martin. It's great to be here. I'll be giving an overview of Genesys View Connections and how they help power real-time data distribution to end users.
This sounds like an amazing start for our first Focused Expo. So to begin, Aaron, over to you.
Thanks, Martin. And hello, everybody. Way back in August, we spoke about Genesys UI. That's the web user interface layer within the overall Genesys platform. The core technology of Genesys UI that underpins the platform is web components. Web components have been around for some time, but are now coming to the fore with major adoptions by Salesforce, Google, IBM, and a slew of financial markets firms adopting them for in-house development. Web components run natively in modern browsers, and as such tend to be lighter and faster than, say, Angular or React components. When used with modern JavaScript and TypeScript, they also free developers from the walled gardens and endless churn of heavy JavaScript frameworks, though nothing prevents using web components within those frameworks when appropriate. Today, we would like to take a look at some of the specific web components in the Genesys platform, how they're constructed and maintained, and how this sets up application developers to quickly and easily compose powerful user interfaces. The Genesys LCAP has the concept of Lego bricks, reusable components snapped together quickly to express complex workflows and build new financial markets applications. It's a concept we apply across both the server and UI layers of the platform. For the creation of web UIs, the web components are the Lego bricks. Back in August, we showed how micro UIs built with Genesys can interoperate with other web tools through FTC3. But today, we're going to touch on the UX journey and developer experience of Genesys UI. There are three aspects to consider. First, the design system and design language. Second, component library itself. And third, how components are composed into applications. We'll save the third for a dedicated future Expo event, and today focus on the first two. I'd like to start by giving you an overview of the purpose of what we call the Genesys design language. These days, good design is non-negotiable, which is why we're happy to invest in it. Our design language can be thought of as a scalable framework of decisions and team behaviors across a product portfolio to converge on a cohesive experience. It will probably help at this stage to give you a visual understanding of what we're about. One of the goals of our design process is to support out-of-the-box visual signatures, beginning with light and dark. The Genesys elements seen here are representative of the default light theme. And here's the corresponding dark theme, showing several more of the common UI components that get composed into end applications. So, what is a design system? That promotes quality, consistent UX across product, and expedites the work of designers and developers. It's not just a classification of components, but an evolving process to develop superior and consistent user interfaces. It's something that has to be scalable and dynamic as UI needs evolve. Having a well-constructed design language helps in several ways. It saves time in a more efficient process. It creates an inventory of components that can be used as building blocks for both designers and developers. It eliminates inconsistencies by being a single source of truth. And finally, it streamlines the design and development process of the component library itself. The Genesis design system has to be flexible because the platform is used to build applications for clients who bring their own strong branded visual signatures. So the system must both support white labeling and assure our solid usability underpinnings continue to benefit the end product. And naturally, we need to quickly and efficiently effect this across the whole library. So what does this UI design system actually consist of? The system includes building blocks such as color palettes, typographic scales, icon libraries, page layout grid utilities, and component primitives. From these fine-grained building blocks, UI patterns are assembled into more coarse-grained component modules, templates, and workflows. The design system comes with a set of rules, including design principles and implementation guidelines meant to ease decision-making both now and in the future. Now let's take a look at the contents of the component library. The Genesis engineering team has put together a comprehensive set of reusable components for composing UIs. The components are targeted to cover the needs of a wide range of financial market applications. These components are adaptable to be extended with additional styling and navigation. The idea is to radically speed up the build process of each specific application. The library was designed from a look and feel perspective using the industry standard tool called Figma. The specific behaviors and functions of the components were developed in TypeScript by the Genesis web engineering team. The resulting library is fully documented and browsable in another industry standard tool called Storybook. The components themselves are distributed using NPM packages into application development environments. Storybook is a very valuable open source tool. Here we are inside the Storybook environment. For application developers and designers, this is like a testing sandbox, API docs, style guide, and visual design reference all rolled into one. Here we see a visual design asset, in this case an accordion component, is designed in Figma, but then directly linked from Figma into Storybook. This is not a copy. This is a direct link that will keep itself updated whenever the original changes. As you can imagine, it's terrifically convenient reference as the component is being implemented. Let's take a look at the content structure. Down the side is a categorized list of all the individual components that exist in the library. The structure of this navigation itself expresses taxonomy of the design system. As we select specific components, they appear in the content area. Then we're free to put them through their paces by manipulating whatever properties are exposed. In the case of this chart, let's play with fill opacity. Let's play with line width. Zoom in a bit. Get the idea. Reset that. Next, let's take the example of a default grid. On the Canvas tab, we can see an example of the component. Of course, it's interactive. And incidentally, it's a great example of our theming support. In the Documents tab for this demo, we can copy its very compact underlying markup. We can see the exhaustive API documentation, usage examples for the grid and its child components, all of which combine to paint a very complete picture of what this is useful for and how to achieve it. All of our design assets can be accommodated in Storybook. For example, here is a subset of the icons available in Genesis UI. As you learned earlier, we can experiment freely with their properties. Besides being kind of fun, I'm also testing behavior that may be needed programmatically. Here's an animated candlestick chart. Here's form validation, client side. Here we have navigation, which is responsive out of the box and is wired up to affect its environment in various ways. Here we have a splitter. And dialogues. Interspersed throughout, we have documentation for some non-graphical components, for navigation, and for connecting to the Genesis backends. You can see there's much more here, and there's more coming as Genesis UI is under active development. Hopefully, this has given you a good sense of the breadth and suitability of Genesis UI for financial markets applications. Hopefully you're getting an idea for what's in the component library and how it contains a wide range of basic components that are suitable for financial markets applications. In order to build a specific UI, it's necessary to compose it with elements selected from the component library, connect them to server-side resources that provide the data, then implement navigation and links between the UI components to achieve the desired UX. We will show how that part works at a future Expo. If you can't wait, then get in touch, and we'll be happy to give you a demo now. I hope you found this session of interest. Hopefully you gained a sense for how Genesis has taken a best practice approach to the design and implementation of the web component library. We've already built a number of products with this latest generation of the web UI and are very pleased with the outcome from the perspectives of build efficiency, resulting UX, and performance. We look forward to sharing more with you soon. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Aaron. An excellent explanation of the latest web UI platform from Genesis. Now, Jay, over to you.
Thanks, Martin. Hi, everyone. The Genesis platform is a real-time event-driven architecture. Quite a few of the simpler applications we build on the platform don't need that level of sophistication, but we build every application the same way irrespective. Pretty much all the applications we have ever come across in financial markets, ones that process financial instruments, have a somewhat similar relational data structure. In the simplest case, think about three tables: instrument, counterparty, and trade. Now think about the data a user wants to see on a front end. They want to see a single row of data that contains field values from all three tables. In other words, join. This is a very basic fundamental requirement that exists in all systems, be they real-time or not. In the Genesis platform, we don't generally use a relational database to store business data, because that technology is not performant for real-time applications like trading systems. In the Genesis platform, we stored business data in high-performance, horizontally scalable NoSQL databases running in memory. Nor do we use the standard basic technology for querying and joining data, for example, web servers, for the same reason. In the Genesis platform, we use real-time data servers. These cache data in memory and push updates to relevant users after evaluating every business event that takes place in the platform. There's a lot of really cool technology underpinning real-time data distribution to user interfaces. We made some improvements to this part of the platform recently, and we thought it would be interesting to explain and demonstrate. During 2020, we introduced a new capability into the platform which we refer to as GPAL, the Genesis Platform Abstraction Layer. The objective of GPAL was to take another step forward in efficiency of building applications, and part of the GPAL investment refines the way we configure data joining and data distribution. we introduced the concept of views. A view in the Genesis platform is somewhat similar to the concept of a view in relational databases, but ours include real-time capabilities. Previously, we would perform data join configuration within data servers and snapshot queries independently, but with GPAL views, we can define them centrally and use them from within many components. GPAL provides an elegant, powerful scripting language, supported by IntelliSense when working within the IntelliJ IDE, including help, auto-completion, and error prevention. Here's an example of building a view, Trades View, which joins data from instrument, counterparty, and trade table. As we get started, straight away you can see examples of auto-completion with IntelliSense. Now, we see an IntelliSense tooltip showing how to use the view function. When you select a function, the syntax for arguments is shown in help. We are defining Trades View to be based on the trade table. Here is an example of the comprehensive help available in the scripting environment. Here is more help, this time around for the joins function. Now we are starting to define the joins, beginning with instrument. Here we can see error prevention. We can't make a join on an invalid field. Here we are joining to the counterparty table. Now we can define the fields to include in the view. This can be all fields or selected fields. Once again, auto-completion is available to assist the developer. The view is complete. Okay, this is done. This was quicker to create, less verbose, and is easier to modify than in previous versions of the platform. And the result is metadata driven. For example, if we add a field or change a definition to an underlying table, it is automatically inherited in the view, the front end, and other parts of the system. Fantastic. The next step is to install this view onto the system being developed. That's just a couple of standard commands, and based on this view configuration, a real-time data server is auto-generated for the trades view. Here is the additional view visible as a resource on the console tool that we explained on a previous event. Genesis user interface composed for an application using our web component library can also access the same resource. I showed that earlier. That was all very simple and straightforward. But these data servers have got some very interesting features. Relating to the earlier example, every time there is a new trade created, the data server receives updates via the internal message bus, and with this, it updates its cache. The data server will evaluate which users, based on visibility permissions and filter sets, need to see the trade and push the new trade row only to these users. The message is compressed and encrypted for transit. If a new user opens a trades grid on their front end, that will initiate a new real-time query session. The initial response will be serviced by the data server cache, not the database directly. The data server will only send a manageable amount of data rows at a time, and will also manage any moving window control. Anytime a user changes their filter criteria, say to look at the trades from last week, that request is also serviced from the cache. Similarly, if a user's permissions are changed, their grid will reflect those changes immediately. Where there are multiple UIs open, the data server remembers the data permissions and filter sets for each session, and only pushes updated records to the appropriate users. In this example, users 1, 3, and 4. If there is a record update, say to one field, the status field, then the message sent to the front end only includes that field, not the entire record. These features and the data server architecture add up to a sophisticated, powerful, and scalable architecture for real-time systems. Every application that's built on the Genesis platform has all of these features available out of the box. The platform was already very strong in this area, but recently we've improved this further with the implementation of views and GPAL. In this session, I've only covered one aspect of the Genesis platform abstraction layer. My colleague Jose Pozo gave more of an overview of GPAL in a previous Expo. He covered the configuration of application servers from system definition through to schema definition. He also showed the configuration of microservices to achieve the business functionality required by an application. GPAL superpowers application developers to create and evolve financial market applications at speed. Thank you for listening. Now, back over to you, Martin.
Thank you, Jay, for the overview of the Genesis view definitions. So Aaron and Jay, some really interesting insights from both of you on the Genesis LCAP and the rich development experience provided by the Genesis platform and the power of real-time data distribution. It's been great to take a deeper look at the technology behind the Genesis platform during this month's Upload show, getting a chance to look at the more technical topics like web components. Off the back of your demos, we've had a number of great questions submitted regarding integration of low-code technology and data servers, so let's get right in. So let's start with you, Aaron. Web components can be kind of fringy or lower priority for IT teams. How does this actually benefit our customers?
Fringy. I'd say it's more like mainstream at this point. So they've been steadily developing over the past 10 years as the web platform coalesces. Google has rewritten parts of the Chrome browser in web components and even published a white paper on the topic. But one benefit to customers in the short term is probably snappier performance. Sometimes it's even shockingly perceptible. Longer term, we're all benefiting from standardization. The code has a longer viable life. It's more portable. It's more amenable to future adaptation and less prey to code rot and obsolescence. So there's at least, partial future proofing. Your web components will continue to function perfectly well in frameworks that haven't even been invented yet, and will just keep getting better and better as a built-in capability of your web browser.
So some people claim, though, that frameworks like React and Angular are better, and in part due to the legacy support that we need to have for Internet Explorer. What do you say to that?
So the notion that web components are purely adversarial with React and Angular is really an unfortunate misnomer. I've already talked about how they're in fact complementary. Most of the major frameworks, in kind of interesting different ways, are figuring out how to compile their own components as web components. React is maybe the one notable exception. But leaving that aside, Microsoft has been begging users for years to stop using old versions of Windows and Internet Explorer. There are very real security holes there that will never be closed. Not to mention, the decrepit rendering engines in Internet Explorer struggle and fail to deliver all sorts of modern content. Now, you can download additional files called polyfills that will get your web components working with IE. But that would be throwing away the opportunity to turn the tables on this whole concept of being the prisoner of legacy software. This is actually one big driver of our business. Folks come to us precisely to rebuild end-user computing tools that happen to have been built, best of intentions, of course, but too tightly coupled to some now totally deprecated system. And so they are quite rightly looking to us as a path to freedom, not as a way to perpetuate some unhealthy dependence.
That makes great sense. So one more question for you, Aaron. In the demo, you breezed through a number of icons. And in interest of time, I know you didn't get through everything. What else is there?
What else is there besides, you mean in terms of like the actual icons themselves?
Exactly. Pre-built functions that you get out of the box. What else is there that you didn't show us?
Oh, I see. Well, we didn't do much of a deep dive into form validation, and that's actually a very powerful capability because we've set that up client side, and you don't have to have round trips to the server, and we're able to set up very, very flexible and comprehensive rules in a very simple and straightforward way in client-side code to handle just about every validation scenario that you might run into. So that's a big win. In terms of working with grids, something we didn't have time to touch on was the fact that you can actually have automatic generation of columns without having to precisely define each and every column manually or explicitly. That's a huge win for quickly setting up data grids. So those are two highlights of out-of-the-box behaviors for sure.
Perfect. And while we are on the topic of visuals, I've seen white labeling projects at other companies either get lost in weeds with crazy CSS or else be so limited the customer's brand is not well served. How do we contrast in that when we go to with clients with those kind of solutions?
Sure. Honestly, this is something we're constantly tweaking. One problem we don't have is limitation. So the sky is pretty much the limit in terms of theming Genesis UI. That's another example of how we're keeping abreast of web technologies in general. So our white labeling is completely based on what's called CSS custom properties. And so you begin to see a theme with our front-end choices. Web components are natively supported and JavaScript framework agnostic. CSS custom properties are CSS variables that are natively supported and CSS framework agnostic. So last year, we did a lot of work simplifying these properties so that changing one wouldn't unexpectedly affect another, and you get all sorts of weird side effects. This year, we're taking it to a whole other level and building a theme roller that requires pretty much no knowledge of CSS at all. So more to come on that.
Perfect. Fantastic, Aaron. Thank you.
Thanks.
Now, this one's for you, Jay.
Sure.
When speaking about Genesis data servers, you mentioned the data servers keep track of what each user is looking at. What is the benefit of this to our clients?
Yeah, good question. So although any given users are typically looking at the same underlying data set, they always have a unique view on that particular data. So there's the things that they're authenticated to see, authorized to see, and they've got their own special criteria set that they can change at any given time. Plus, they can dynamically remove and add columns. And we don't want to send all data everywhere to all users. So keeping a track of this on the data server side of things makes things a little bit more complicated on the server, but it allows for us to have a scalable performance system. So taking the scalability side of things, when we're talking about systems that have an increased number of users, so more and more users being added to them, we can balance out queries across multiple data servers as well, all using the same underlying cache, without it affecting other queries, other users, and also upstream processes from being affected, kind of traffic coming in. The whole data distribution architecture that we have is designed to support large numbers of users, all viewing complex and differing real-time data sets simultaneously.
Perfect. Right. So basically, the data server helps us be extremely scalable, looking at 100,000 transactions on the grids really quickly, or just a few data sets at a time, depending on how complex the applications are.
Yeah.
Perfect. So you mentioned scaling just now, but obviously display performance is equally, if not more important, in real-time system.
Yeah.
How does Genesis Data Server help achieve that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Display performance is absolutely key and something we bear in mind when we're designing anything. So to help with this performance side of things, we also have a few other tools within the data server. So it will essentially create a historic cache of data when it starts up, so that when users are querying or changing query sets or columns, as I mentioned before, or even the permissions dynamically, everything's served up from a cache, and that cache is kept up to date with the things changing. But it means that when you're adding new users, for example, or users heavily hitting
queries. They're not hitting the database, so we're not affecting the rest of the system. All the data is also joined already in place, pre-joined. So we've got data sets across multiple tables. You don't have you don't have the expense of the database operation of joining the data, etc. So what it allows for is a really snappy and responsive front end. So once real-time queries have been opened by a particular user, as I said, we're keeping a track of what a user's looking. The data server will only send the pertinent updates to the user. So delta updates, so only the values that have changed, but also only the values that the user cares about. So if I'm not allowed to see a particular row, or I'm not looking at a particular row or column, then it won't bother sending that. And also, as I mentioned earlier, pack those messages nice and tightly. So you've got really reduced network traffic, and it also eases the burden on the browser, which has less of a job to do because it's not receiving data it doesn't care about, and it can quickly unpack it and display it to the user. So all of this just allows for really good real-time data updates to hit any user very quickly.
Lovely. So it's amazing how quickly the session has passed by. Before we close the show, I'd like to ask both of you if there is one key point that you'd like the audience to take away today. What would it be? Aaron, we'll start with you.
It's basically what I already said, is the tools that we give you to escape legacy systems and technical debt, I think, are invaluable as we progress in the 21st century, and the web platform itself coalesces and just expands what is even capable to be produced in a web application versus something that's stuck back in an isolated operating system context. So stick with that.
Okay, great. All right, excellent. Now, Jay, over to you. What would be your key takeaway that you'd like the audience to be left with?
I guess like everything that Genesis builds, really, data servers and what I've explained gives you a good reason as to why it allows me as an application developer or other application developers to really focus on the business requirements as opposed to the non-functional requirements.
Great. So focusing on the business requirements, right? We allow our clients to quickly deliver these applications, at scale, at speed, being able to bring these components, almost like these Lego brick components, where data server, for example, that we mentioned on this presentation, is one key component, and then hence lets us use that technology to easily bring to life new applications. Hence makes us much more quicker, much more agile, and with lower risk, since our developers and your developers, by the way, watching the show, will not need to start from scratch to do all this. We sort of give you a lot of this functionality right out of the box. So before we wrap up today's show, I would like to thank you for joining our first tech-focused Genesis Expo, taking a deeper look at web components and development optimization. Also, don't forget to check out the last month Expo on low-code innovation with ING, where Felipe, our CEO, was joined by Ron Kurzik, Enterprise Architect of ING, and Matt Rees-Evans, Loan Markets Innovation Lead. Thank you for joining us today, and see you again soon.